Is it open season on cops? The manhunt intensifies for 3 suspects in the murder of a popular police officer near Chicago. This is Special Report. Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. At least 100 law enforcement officers are looking for clues, running down leads, and conducting what are called saturation patrols in an expanding search area as the hunt for 3 suspected cop killers continues tonight outside Chicago. Correspondent Mike Tobin is live again this evening in Fox Lake, Illinois. Hi, Mike.
And Brett, as the manhunt continues, we have late developments. Just a short time ago, we saw a large group of officers. It looked like federal agents, sheriff's deputies, and a couple of local police officers, heavily armed, some of them wearing body armor, descended on a house in Fox Lake. Witnesses say they interviewed several people, and it looks like they took a couple people away. That scene has now largely wrapped up in a rather short period of time, and police will only say that as part of the investigation and this intense manhunt. Authorities appeared to hold back nothing trying to find the cop killers. Aircraft, dogs, and hundreds of personnel from federal, state, and local agencies. The best description they had of what they were searching for was just 2 white males and 1 black male. All the effort and all the intensity only ruled out the search area.
After a 14-hour intensive manhunt for these individuals, the perimeter was pulled last night at approximately 10:30 as the individuals were not located within that perimeter after being extensively checked.
Lieutenant Joe Glenowitz confronted the suspects on Tuesday morning because it was early. They were in an industrial area and they looked suspicious.
You see 3 individuals there that have no reason for being there. It would be a fundamental police procedure to stop and at least question them as to why they're there.
There was a foot chase. The next communication came from the officer who found Glenowitz.
Send everybody you possibly can. Officer is down. We need a large perimeter here.
Some efforts today turned to healing. Bunting was hung from the police department as well as town signs, black and purple, symbolizing mourning. And Fox Lake remembers a veteran police officer, Lieutenant Glenowitz, endeared with the nickname G.I. Joe. Active in community events, he was the kind of cop who bridged the tension between police and public. The latest to be gunned down in the line of duty.
Joe was a tough guy. I don't understand how this could happen to someone like Joe.
He was just a pillar in the community, really well respected.
Nationwide, there have been 28 officers killed in the line of duty. Most are killed by gunfire. Some are hit by cars. Some are beaten to death. That is actually down from 32 this time last year. However, 2014 showed a nearly 90% increase in the number of police officers who were killed on the job. Brett, back to you.
Mike Tobin live in Fox Lake. We'll head back for breaking details. Mike, thanks. Officials in Massachusetts are looking for the person who fired shots into a Millis Police Department cruiser this afternoon. The car crashed and caught fire. No injuries were reported. Police are looking for a white male suspect driving a dark-colored pickup truck. The first hearings have begun for 6 Baltimore police officers charged in connection with the death of an African-American man while in police custody. Correspondent Leland Vittert is monitoring the proceedings and the ongoing protests in the streets of a rainy Baltimore. Good evening, Leland.
Good evening, Brett. We're waiting for a protest that is supposed to begin in about 30 minutes, but so far the only people who have shown up is the Baltimore Police Department awaiting the protesters, which has kind of been the story of the day, perhaps because the prosecution in the Freddie Gray case won the first 2 big battles of the day. On the other hand, the defense is celebrating their own victory and that each officer will receive a separate trial. Now, the judge has refused to throw out the charges against the 6 officers allegedly involved in Freddie Gray's death and said Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby could stay on the case. Mosby sat stone-faced in court as defense attorneys accused her of misconduct and tainting the jury pool, especially when holding her May 1st press conference to announce the charges. The judge said her conduct was, quote, troubling, but didn't rise to the level of hurting the officers' right to a fair trial. He went then on to admonish the defense counsel for their own conduct. The afternoon session brought a win for the defense. Rather than trying 4 of the officers together, each officer will receive his or her own trial. Hundreds of police officers came in from around the state, ready for fresh riots. Mostly, they sat around in the shade. Police in Baltimore arrested one person for blocking traffic, but the few protesters who showed up seemed disorganized at best.
We were prepared for whatever happened today. I think we showed that, and that's what's important to me.
As of now, the first trial could begin as early as October 13th, but a lot could change between now and then. Next week, there is a change of venue hearing, and Brett, protesters have said if the trial is moved out of Baltimore, it will be a reason once again to return to the streets. Back to you.
Leland Vittert live in Baltimore. Leland, thank you. Now to politics and a kinder, gentler Republican approach in New Hampshire. It involves a candidate gaining ground there, but staying positive. Chief political correspondent Carl Cameron has that story tonight from Manchester.
In Hooksett, New Hampshire, at Roby's General Store, a national historic site that's hosted presidential candidates for decades, Ohio Governor John Kasich, who's now running second in the state with the first primary 5 months from now, got choked up by the voters' sincerity.
A couple times when I come here, you all make me a little emotional.
While Donald Trump and Jeb Bush angrily attack one another as unable to get the country back on track, Kasich gushes about America's greatness and his determination to strengthen it as a two-term governor of Ohio and the only congressman to author a balanced budget that passed in the last 50 years.
We have to restore respect, not just in politics, but in all of our lives. And one final thing, you have to demand it.
Kasich barely qualified for the first debate, but he'll be at the second one in 2 weeks as a major New Hampshire contender. The latest average of recent New Hampshire polls shows Trump out front, but Kasich, the other candidate in double digits, is in second. And Jeb Bush has slipped into single digits, having led here only a few months ago. Trump today said Bush is attacking him as a former Democrat with liberal views out of desperation.
Well, I think he had really no choice. He's doing very poorly in the polls.
Trump's flamethrower style has hurt him. Only 37% view him favorably, while 59% have an unfavorable view, and that's slightly improved from July. Jeb Bush is somewhat better, 38% favorable, 55% unfavorable. Kasich says his conservatism is about helping people, not criticizing them. He distinguishes himself from most rivals by supporting what he calls a reasonable minimum wage hike.
It's about balance, and we're doing fine in Ohio. I would prefer for the states to deal with it at this point like we do.
Later in Henniker, for a town hall meeting, he tried to contrast his optimistic can-do approach with the Bush-Trump bitterness.
If it takes mean and angry, count me out. If it takes determination, if it takes a degree of toughness, count me in.
Trump's refusal to rule out a run as an independent or a third-party candidate if he loses the Republican nomination has not gone unnoticed by the Republican National Committee. At least a couple of weeks ago, senior officials there were talking about what they might do about it, and in the last couple of days, RNC officials have contacted several campaigns asking them if they'd be willing to take a pledge of loyalty. Trump has signaled to big GOP donors that he's likely to do just that. The question is what bearing it might have should he decide to drop out of the party having lost the nomination and run as an independent anyway. Brett?
Carl Cameron live in Manchester tonight. Carl, thanks. Vice President Joe Biden dips his toe into the presidential waters in Florida, while Hillary Clinton is being hit with charges of hypocrisy by fellow Democrats. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry fills us in.
It's a piece of tape that Hillary Clinton probably doesn't want voters to see.
Both Democratic candidates were invited to a televised debate here in Wisconsin. Hillary Clinton has said yes. Barack Obama hasn't.
Fox has obtained a copy of a long-forgotten ad from the 2008 campaign when Clinton was trying to take out Democratic frontrunner Barack Obama.
Maybe he'd prefer to give speeches than have to answer questions.
This time, the script has been flipped. Clinton is the embattled frontrunner who's trying to limit the number of Democratic debates and has been ducking questions.
Well, let me answer one of your questions because I think that's what you are entitled to.
Yet a growing list of Democratic power brokers are joining former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley in demanding the Democratic National Committee increase the number of debates, since Clinton and Obama sparred 19 times in the 2008 campaign, while this time there are only 4 Democratic debates scheduled before the Iowa caucuses. AFL-CIO President Richard Trumka told reporters yesterday the Democratic candidates could even add a debate on Christmas Day because the economic issues are so important. And the influential labor boss pointedly suggested liberal Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's not even a candidate, and Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders are connecting better than Clinton.
Elizabeth Warren does a magnificent job of articulating the needs of workers. People respond to it. I think Bernie does a great job of that, and people respond to it. I think Hillary's done a good job at times.
Sanders wants more debates, but the fight has been waged most aggressively by O'Malley, who got the cold shoulder from DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz after making this declaration at the party's summer meeting on Friday.
4 debates, 4 debates. 4 debates and 4 debates only, we are told, not asked.
While Clinton does not want to expand the number of debates, Democrats are still waiting to see if Vice President Joe Biden, who held a college affordability event today in the critical state of Florida, will increase the number of candidates at those debates.
People who aren't willing to risk failing never succeed.
Now, what has some Democrats like O'Malley particularly irked is the first Democratic debate is not until mid-October. By then, Republicans will have had 2 debates, Brett.
We'll see what happens with Biden.
Good to see you.
Ed, thanks. Up next, the president picks up a key vote for his Iran nuclear deal. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 5 in New York with a real-life fight club at a daycare center. Authorities have charged 2 former workers with child abuse. The prosecutor says they encouraged the 4 to 6-year-olds to fight, shot video of it, and put it on social media. The Lightbridge Academy says no children were physically harmed during the incidents. Fox 9 in Minneapolis, where a judge has set a February trial date for 7 young Minnesota men accused of trying to join ISIS in Syria. Today, the judge rejected defense motions that membership in a terrorist organization is protected under the First Amendment and that ISIS is more like a nation than a terror group because it proclaims itself sovereign, controls territory, and has an army. And this is a live look at Boston from our affiliate Fox 25. The big story there tonight, warnings from a cybersecurity firm that several top internet-connected baby monitors lack basic security features. The report says hackers could use any number of flaws to gain access not only to the video monitors, but to other Wi-Fi-enabled devices in a person's home. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.